In this video we'll learn how to use dashboards and reports in MIIMETIQ LITE. When we access our tenant, or workspace, we can see that the Dashboards menu already has a default dashboard. The default dashboard of MIIMETIQ LITE shows aggregated information from all the devices we have created. By default, there is a map widget that locates all devices on a map, and a pie chart widget, showing the connection status of all devices in real time. Besides these two widgets, the dashboard also displays one widget for each of the signals we have created. In our diesel generators example, we can see that we also have the following widgets, which correspond to the readers, writers and attributes already created. A widget shows us which generators are powered on and which are off. This widget represents the state of the writer generator.power. A line chart widget shows the historic values received by the energy generated reader, and two more widgets show historic values for the fuel level and engine speed readers. In addition to this default dashboard, MIIMETIQ LITE allows us to configure other personalized dashboards. This functionality is linked to the Reports section, where different reports can be created and then promoted as dashboards. Let's see how the reports in MIIMETIQ LITE work. To access the Reports section, we click the Reports button in the main menu. If this is the first time we have accessed reports, we will see a message indicating no data to display. To create our first report, we click the plus button. We enter a name for our report and optionally a description. In this screen we can define if we want this report to also be displayed in the dashboard section. Since we want our report available as a dashboard, we will select the first option. We also want this report to be the default dashboard, so we also select the second option. If we define a report as the default dashboard, it will be loaded as the default screen each time the application is accessed. The default dashboard created by MIIMETIQ LITE will still be available as an option in the Dashboards menu. To continue with the creation of our report, we click the OK button. This will return us to the report list, where we'll see the report we've just created. We will also see that the Dashboards menu now has a selection giving direct access to our report as a dashboard. To load a report in the Reports editor, we click the arrow button to the right of the report. The report editor has a toolbar at the top with the following buttons. The plus button allows us to add a new row to the report. The rows are containers that organize widgets horizontally. A report can have multiple rows and each row can contain multiple widgets. The minus button allows us to remove all the contents of the report. This action asks the user for confirmation. The button with the down arrow allows us to save the changes we have made in the report. The button with the printer icon lets us print the report. And finally, the button with an arrow to the left allows us to go back to the report list. Let's see how we can add content to our report. To start, we click the plus button to add a new row. We can enter a title and description. These fields are optional. If we fill them in, the report will show the title and description entered in the top section of the row. In this case we want a report about the state of our generators, so we input the title diesel generators and we click the Save button. We see that the new row has been created and its title appears at the top left. We can see that the blue frame surrounding the row appears only when we put the mouse over the row. The controls within the row give the following options. The Up button allows you to move the row up. The Plus button lets you add a widget to this row. The button Settings allows you to edit the properties of the row. The X button allows us to remove the row. The Down button allows us to move this row down. At the bottom of the row we see a small blue mark. This allows us to set the height of the row. The height of the row determines the height of all the widgets contained in the row. Now we click the plus button to add a new widget to the row. As before, we can add an optional title to be displayed, in this case over the widget. We write Barcelona. Next we decide on the type of widget we want to create. We can create a widget from a specific signal of a particular device, or create a widget that displays aggregated data from multiple devices, in the same way as the widgets that appear in the default dashboard of MIIMETIQ LITE. In this case we select the type as signal. Now we select the device containing the signal we want to add. In this case the Barcelona generator. Then we select the signal we want to be represented in the widget. In the list we will see all the readers, writers and attributes of the device available for selection. In this case we select the reader that shows the level in the fuel tank. The last step in the creation of a widget allows us to determine what information to display and how to represent it visually. The options available in this step will vary depending on the type of signal we have chosen. In this case it is a reader of the type metrics. We can then choose whether we want to show the current value, the historic values or both. In our example we are interested in only the current value. We select this option. Here we see several options for how the value is to be displayed. The options available depend on the type of data that we are representing. In this case it's a reader of the type metrics, so we only have the display and gauge options available. The display option is the simplest way to represent data. It is just text or a simple number showing the value. The gauge option displays numeric values in an analog style meter. The switch option is used to represent Boolean values as a switch with two states. The map option is used to plot latitude and longitude values on a map. The display we want for our report is gauge. We select it and click the Save button. We can see now that the report includes the gauge indicating the current level of the fuel tank. Then we repeat the operation for the generators in Madrid, London and Paris. We have completed the configuration of this row, showing us 4 gauges, each displaying the current value of the fuel tank level in each of our 4 generators. Now we would like to create a second row that tells us if the generators are running or not. As before, we click the plus button to add a new row. Then we click the plus button in the row to add a new widget. We select the options Current Value and Display. We repeat the same operation for the other generators. We also want our report to include a widget of the type map, showing us the physical location of the devices. We add a new row, and in this case we select dashboard, as we want to display a single map with all the devices. Remember that widgets of the type dashboard display information from all devices. We select the widget of the type LITE. Finally, we want to show the energy generated by all generators in a line graph. We create a new row and name it Energy Generated, then add a widget of the type Dashboards and select the reader, Energy Generated. We want this widget to be displayed as the second in our report, so we click the button that allows us to move the row up twice. Then we click the Save button to finish our report. Let's now try the print function. Clicking the printer button displays a preview that then allows us to print the report. Finally, we'll check the new dashboard that we have generated based on our report. We can see that the Energy Generated widget allows us to activate and deactivate the different lines of the generators. It is also possible to zoom in to see the data of over a specific period of time in more detail. The video on dashboards and reports has ended. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next video.